Hi, so this is my video lesson plan, and for my lesson I am going to be teaching Charity, and I'm going to be teaching Charity about car maintenance, but I'm going to put it in the context of problem solving. Um, Charity is 15 years old, so she falls under in Piaget's cognitive stages, she falls under the formal operational stage, which means that she is still developing her reasoning capabilities, but that she does have the capacity for abstract thought and critical thinking. Physically, her frontal lobe is still developing, which means that she is still developing those reasoning and problem solving capabilities. So I'm hoping that this lesson will be in her zone of proximal development so that we can continue to build those problem solving capabilities. Um, because Charity is 15, she's also getting ready to get her driver's license. And so that I'm hoping that teaching car maintenance will be of situational interest to her and will increase her intrinsic motivation to want to learn. There are a few things that I don't have control over in this lesson, such as if Charity comes with enough sleep and meeting her Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Because she is a teenager, she doesn't always have the time to get the proper sleep and rest necessary, so that's something that I have little control over, but will play an effect into the lesson. To begin with for the lesson, I am going to start in the cognitive domain and go over, we're going to have a discussion about what are known as Polya's 4 steps to problem solving. So we're going to talk a little bit about different ways to problem solve, and that will be indoors, so the physical climate will be pretty controlled compared to the rest of the lesson. And then I'm going to also indoors go over a list of resources and things that would be helpful to have in a car. And during this time, I'm going to be using informational language and abstract reasoning to create a theoretical situation of a situation where she may need stuff, may need different resources, or may need to be able to problem solve. So we're going to go over some of those ideas during that section of the lesson. For the second part of my lesson, we are actually going to head outside and be more hands-on, so it's going to be more in the psychomotor domain for Charity. And we're going to start by doing a car walk around and a basic car maintenance. From my pre-assessment, I know that Charity is quite familiar with a lot of the different things that need to be checked on a car, but I want to go into a little more depth and just make sure that she's doing all of it so that it will be in her psychomotor domain, and so that hopefully that as she's taking on all these senses through her sensory register, she'll be able to focus on it with her working or short-term memory, and then store it in her long-term memory. By having Charity do all of the things on her own, I'm hoping to avoid her having a failure to store the information. So it's kind of what my goals are for the second part of the lesson. And it is going to be outside, so the physical climate is going to be a little bit more out of my control. There's a chance it could be bad weather or not ideal weather for working on a car in, but that is life, so it's something that we're going to have to deal with. Another thing that I want to make sure is that there's enough space to work around the car so that our physical arrangement allows us to be able to learn the necessary parts of the car. I also want to avoid her developing any misconceptions about what the different fluids in a car are, so I'm going to give her some prototype examples and some negative positive instances of oil so that I can avoid that problem. So for the last part of my problem, I'm going to have Charity work through a number of different problems on the car, and I want her to try to work through them on her own. However, I am going to watch and make sure that she stays in her zone of proximal development, and I'm also going to watch for anxiety. I don't know how high of trait anxiety Charity has, but she is being placed in a situation that could have high state anxiety, so I'm gonna be watching for anxiety levels and trying to keep her anxiety at a facilitating level rather than her developing debilitating anxiety. During this process, I'm going to be watching for cueing, and I will also be using cueing to help her solve the problems if she needs help. During this process, Charity may end up having some social interaction with other people if she chooses to, which would help develop her psychosocial abilities. And then also during this section of the lesson, I want Charity to focus on having discovery learning, where she is connecting her past experiences and past knowledge with new knowledge by using problem-solving techniques and things she already knows about the car to figure out what she would do in certain situations. That will pretty much wrap up my lesson. But throughout my lesson, I want to focus on reinforcing her ability to problem solve using positive reinforcement just by showing her that she can problem solve. And hopefully this will also build her self-efficacy about her ability to solve problems, especially when it comes to cars. And also hopefully it will build her self-concept as well. So I just want to make sure that I keep in mind different behaviors and ideas so that I can build those. So that's pretty much my lesson. Let me know if you have any questions.